Hello, hello. Happy Venus Day, Venus night, Valentine's Day. Hope everyone enjoyed their special day, whether you celebrate it or not. The moon is in Virgo, right with the south node. The sun is in Aquarius, and it is currently a moon hour. Mercury has moved into Pisces. And so I just wanted to mention a couple things about this one that stood out to me. I get some feelings about this whenever I see or whenever I hear descriptions about this transit. So I just wanted to give my perspective as a native Mercury in Pisces in my third house, and hopefully it sheds a little light on this mysterious, nebulous kind of energy that we're going to have to kind of get used to for the next few months. It'll be in Pisces from February 14th till March 2nd, and then it will enter Aries, but then Mercury will retrograde while in Aries at 9 degrees, so it won't get very far into Aries before it retrogrades back into Pisces, and the retrograde starts on March 15th, and it'll re-enter Pisces on the 28th, and it'll go back to 26 degrees Pisces, and then April 6th it goes direct again, and re-enters Aries on April 15th. And so there's a lot of crossing over the anaretic degree of Pisces, that 29th degree, which is a very extreme degree of Pisces energies. So it could be a lot of confusion, illusion, compassionate conversations. There could be a lot of grieving around this time. So if we are feeling a lot of heaviness, there can be, consoling one another because of the endings that we are experiencing. With the endings come beginnings, and so 0 degree Aries is a world point. It restarts, kind of resets the entire zodiac wheel, and life begins again. Like 0 degrees Aries, when the sun is at 0 degrees Aries, that's when the actual new year begins, the astrological new year. That's when life begins. The sun is risen again. And so there are several planets crossing over this point, 29 degrees Pisces and 0 degrees Aries. So Neptune is there now, Neptune, and then Saturn will meet up with Neptune in the middle end of March. Mercury will be there, and Venus will also be retrograde, and the whole gang, like I think Neptune, Saturn, Venus, Mercury, did I miss anybody? Will all be in the sign of Pisces, and then the sun will be in Pisces until March, probably 20th, and then begins Aries season. That's when we have the spring equinox. But I think this is a invitation, a reminder, like a calling, kind of like a demand, the universe's demand to embody and embrace the Pisces energies of forgiveness and acceptance and allowing things to be, along with being hopeful and compassionate and open-hearted, generous, just showing a lot of grace for yourself and your fellow human or your fellow earth being, animals. I feel like I connect with more animals whenever I'm out and about than I do humans, because I don't know if it's the case in your corner of the world where people don't or have learned not to make eye contact. And so I connect with the animals that they're walking and find comfort in the connection with the animals. And we can do that with the trees, any birds, just paying more attention to all of life's sentient beings, which is pretty much everything. And on the flip side of Pisces is the illusions and the delusions, the dreams, the gaslighting. It can be taken as gaslighting when on a high vibrational level it's staying, in that rose-colored glasses kind of dimension where everything will work out, like don't worry, basically, like it's not that big of a deal. It can sound kind of harsh. And with Mercury in Pisces, the hope is to be able to use this energy to compassionately frame things in ways where we are able to meet the other person and choose the words that resonate with them so that it doesn't sound like they're being gaslit. The concentration of Pisces energies right now can have us seeing and hearing and sensing all these otherworldly symbols or communications. We could be seeing a lot more angel numbers, messages coming through dreams. It's actually a good idea to write your dreams down, and if there are numbers or words or phrases that stick out to you when you wake up, those could be worth writing down and noting and reflecting back on later on. But yeah, there's a lot more non-verbal communication available to us with all of this Pisces energy. And Mercury just came off of a cazimi in Aquarius along with Pluto. So Mercury's traveled through Pluto and the Sun and has now entered Pisces, bringing all these new messages. And you know, they say how Mercury is in detriment in the sign of Pisces because it's in the opposite sign of where it likes to be, Virgo. But I feel personally that as we evolve, planets also evolve. The old belief that Mercury is in detriment in Pisces, I feel, is outdated, because if you haven't heard, we are moving away from the patriarchal system, and the naming or labeling of Mercury being in fall in Pisces comes from those patriarchal times when, you know, the goal was to produce and conquer and, you know, just accumulate and be so productive. But now that we are shifting into a converse kind of world where we are more receiving and being more inward, we can lean into the Mercury in Pisces and be more reflective and more of an open and Jupiter, like big picture kind of perspective on how we communicate, how we process information, how we learn. So there's going to be a lot of learning new ways of picking up on people's emotions. Like Pisces is one of the most emotionally intelligent signs. You know, psychic abilities, intuitive abilities, intuition. And intuition is based on being able to sense the slightest little movements or choices of words or any kind of nuanced expression that can be expressed. Pisces can pick up on it and make a deduction. And of course, you know, it's not always accurate. There is that tendency of being delusional and getting caught up in their own attunements or sensitivities where, you know, there can be a offense taken, you know, like just being like, you know, overly sensitive. But at the same time, there is a reason for that. Like Pisces energy has experienced all of the signs through the zodiac and has gone through a lot. And so the Mercury in Pisces can be tired, you know, like there can be exhaustion and drain. And when it's all coming together with so many other planets in Pisces, this can be very exhausting. I mean, we have Neptune in the sign of Pisces. That's not going to happen for another 150 years. Neptune won't return back to Pisces until 2175 lifetime. So this is a once in a lifetime of Pisces transit, and Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, and this is like one love, consciousness, and it's what kind of blurs boundaries. It gets rid of separation, and Virgo has everything compartmentalized and in categories and organized. Pisces blends everything together. It's like a, you know, like a smorgasbord of gradients, you know, like that's kind of like that Pisces energy is gradients and things that overlap, and that's where the boundaries get blurred. But it can create this beautiful ethereal, and yes, it can be nebulous, you know, like it's where you don't know where one thing ends and another begins. And that is Pisces. And Neptune in Pisces is that imaginary, artistic and creative kind of energy, especially painters who are able to blend paintings, or even makeup artists who are able to like do this flawless makeup, kind of see the color wheel in a different kind of with a different kind of eye. Blending and also music as well, like the blending and the flowing of music can be so seamless and ethereal, and it's like butter, it's like water just kind of flowing. And so yeah, these are epic times. These are strong Pisces energies, and you know, with the North Node there, this is something that we can trust and, you know, trust fall into. The North Node is our destiny, and it's only just started its cycle in Pisces. It's at 27 degrees now. It moves backwards, so we have about 16 more months of this before it enters Aquarius, because it moves backwards. And so we have all of this supportive energy to lean into, trust fall into the Pisces energy, to not have to work so hard, not kill ourselves and drain our energy to make a dollar. You know, like we are moving into a sacred economy where it is more about the heart to heart or the soul to soul connections and the stories that we share and the trust that we build through these connections, the resources that we share with one another. And having this community built off of, you know, seeing each other, witnessing each other, supporting and celebrating each other through this heart connection, this soul connection, and understanding that we are one and we're all working for the same objective, like being of service to one another. And it's not just, you know, one person's success, it is everyone's success, because as we work, as we play, as we tell stories, as we share from the heart, then we all succeed. So we're going to see more of that as time goes on, and it's going to be a big adjustment. And, you know, coming from this programming and conditioning of having to pretty much slave over whatever it is, like our job, our corporate job, or even if you're a mother, like slaving over, like being perfect, like being the perfect mother to your children, making sure your child is in all of these activities, making sure they're making perfect grades in order for them to be accepted at this certain college. Like, things are shifting, beliefs are shifting, and it's going to take a lot of adjustment. I think it was my last video or the one before that was titled "With Big Change Comes Big Surrender," and that's where we kind of are at, where, you know, we have to kind of let things settle, and like, things are going to change. It's inevitable. We couldn't have gone on pretending that things were going to go back to what they were pre-2020, because we were just progressively like getting sicker and draining our energy, our life force, our creative life force. Our creative life force was being that much more suppressed as time went on. And with this time out that we were given, that silver lining, a lot of us were able to discover and learn what our gifts are and what our soul purpose is, and actually felt that experience, like felt that feeling of being fulfilled and being reminded and supported, and remembering where we came from and the value of our gifts, and being able to be reshuffled into spaces and groups where those gifts and talents can be honed and celebrated and sharpened and improved. If we can hold the frequency of hope and faith, and knowing that the universe has a higher intelligence than we can ever imagine, and knowing that all of the things that are happening are being done for this greater good, for the big picture. And it's going to be, it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be different for everyone, and it's completely understandable. But having this awareness, consciously letting go of any impulse to like hang on to the past, will help us let go of the cortisol, like have our, those cortisol levels lowered, and just have these reminders and practices of grounding and going inward. Mars is still retrograde in Cancer, and that is the life force, our will to take action. And with it retrograde, basic universe wants to break us down, basically, and realize that the process that we have been going off of, the programming that we have been so accustomed to, is breaking down. Things are changing, and so we have to kind of surrender. Like, this is the big surrender, the great surrender. And Saturn and all the Pisces energies, Mercury, Neptune, they will eventually be in a trine to Mars and Cancer. And that's going to be a flow of energy that we can trust. You know, this is going to be an emotional flow of intuition. And it will not be easy. Mars is still retrograde in the sign of Cancer. It will be going direct on the 24th of February. And so while it is retrograde, while it has been retrograde, it hasn't been easy to feel totally confident in the goals that we are pursuing. It's really a refinement of the ego, and the universe wants to pretty much break us down, like break our ego down, dissolve the ego. I mean, the Leo full moon that we recently had was squared by Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius. And so when the moon in Leo opposing the sun in Aquarius, having that Uranus square, it is a shattering of the ego. So it's just these repeated signatures of letting go and detaching from those paradigms that we have been so programmed to try to fit into. But we are realizing now that there's more to us than just punching a time card and earning a paycheck to stay in this, you know, systemic order of paying bills that we're not even supposed to receive. So we are shattering our egos. We're like letting go of these old paradigms, letting go of these emotional attachments and beliefs, so these dogmatic beliefs that have been ingrained and indoctrined into multiple systems, the school system, the medical system, even through entertainment, movies, television. So with this Mercury and all the other energies, Saturn, Venus will be going retrograde. Venus will be retrograde come March 1st, and will be coming back to Pisces. So Saturn and Neptune, this concentration of Pisces energies is asking us to surrender. And with the ruler of Pisces in the sign of Gemini, which is also a mutable sign, Gemini is the sign of going to the other end of the spectrum to find answers, just like seeing what's on the polar opposite side of things, like what is the alternative to what we're experiencing. And so there can be some genius, clever, like there can be some unheard of solutions that can come from this. And degrees, which Pluto's in the sign of Aquarius, not at 11 degrees, which is where Jupiter and Gemini is at right now, but in air signs. On February 20th, Mercury in Pisces will be square to Jupiter in Gemini, and this will be a mutual reception. Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces, which is in Gemini, and Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, which is in Pisces. And so it's like they have exchange notes on one another's sign, and you know, they're staying at each other's houses. And it will be at 11 degrees when they square. The moon will be in Sagittarius, which is also a Jupiter ruled sign, and it'll be the last quarter square. So this has so many signatures of change. You know, we're coming up against conflicting, I don't like the word conflicting though, coming up against divergent belief systems. So not necessarily, they could be conflicting, they could be opposing, they could be polarizing. They are just different. These are different times that we have been moving through over the past several years, especially since 2020. And we have to expect that these new changes, new regulations, new laws, restrictions, like all of these new ways of living and new ways of being are going to take place. And the less resistance to it, you know, I'm not saying that we just have to like lay down and take it, but we have to use our spidey senses. We have to come into right relationship with what exactly we are so opposed to and what we are resisting. How pick your battles, you know, much of an impact will we have resisting the change than if we go with the flow. If we have, as long as there is no harm being done, then have every reason to trust in the universe and know that whatever is taking place is happening for make the collective good. Uncomfortable as it may feel or seem or appear, and that's another thing, we can't go off of appearances. all of this energy in Pisces toward the end of the sign around 29 degrees holds the most extreme expressions of Pisces, which can be illusion, delusion, like nothing is as it seems. So we have to really go within and, you know, do this soul searching in order to determine whether or not our stance, our belief systems, our decisions that we're making, where it's coming from. Like, is it being influenced externally? Is it being, are we being coerced, you know? Are we afraid of speaking up? Are we afraid of going against the status quo? I mean, it could play out in so many different ways. But with Mercury in the sign of Pisces, there's going to be more soul-to-soul connection. I mean, we have the South Node in Virgo, which is all about data and order and categorizing, compartmentalizing. And the North Node in Pisces is asking us to quit with the divisiveness. A lot of the conflicts happening in the world is due to boundaries being crossed or boundaries being set up, you know, like putting up a wall and saying, you know, one side is wrong while the other is right. And the dogmatic belief systems have got to go. Another perspective of all this Pisces energy is the highly creative potential that can be taken advantage of. We have all this amazing creative energy in the Pisces area of our life with this huge stellium happening where, you know, this creative intelligence is available for us to channel into some sort of art, music, writing, cooking, singing, any kind of expression that comes from the heart. I don't remember who it was, but they said how the best way to channel any sort of, I guess, like turmoil or stress or anxiety is to express it through creative efforts, art, music, writing, any kind of outlet, passion, anything that gets your like childhood passions stirring again so that you're able to just play and create and not have any worries about the outcome. So I think that's all I have to say about that. Something to lean into. We definitely will need to get used to this Pisces energy at least for the next year and a half or so with the North Node in Pisces and all this traversing over the Aries 0 point, which is where 29 degrees Pisces is. There's going to be a lot of going from water to fire, back to water to fire, so to create a lot of storms, you know, heat and water can create atmospheric rivers. You know, we've been experiencing so much rain in the past week or so. And I feel like this is a huge purification process. This is, you know, erosion of old paradigms and old belief systems. And we're going to have to sit, let it settle for a while before we can actually get used to the new energies. You know, this is a extremely liminal phase that we're in, but, you know, resisting to the changes is not going to be productive. You know, resting and taking care of yourself are forms of productivity, despite what we've been told. So hopefully that's helpful, and hopefully that makes sense. Just remember to stay centered, stay grounded, stay hydrated, fluoride free, and I hope to see you all on the next one. Thanks so much. Let me know if there's any interest or curiosity as to how these intense energies are affecting your chart personally. Feel free to hit me up, and I have my menu down below, and I look forward to hearing from you. All the best. Ciao. And it could be emotional. It could be a lot of grieving. Mars is the energy of severing, so we're letting go of those old paradigms.